time, however, we be blessed to join the Blissful Company. Blissful Company goes from sea to sea, from the depths of Costa Rica to the mountain beach. Yeah. So many stories and so many people, navigating swings around the wild waves. Shout out to the holy Himalayas, from Mount Zion to the hills of Jamaica. Island is holy, island is sacred. How shall we in this whole completely?
Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze. We are here in Costa Rica for Envision Festival 2019, and I have the great honor of hanging out with, spending some time with a very exhausted, long day of surfing, Mr. Trevor Hall. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, man. So, look, I want to share your work and your ideas and message with my audience, who some of them are going to be very aware of who you are, others might be brand new. And I want to take a different approach than maybe some of the interviews you've done before, because there's information about when you put out what records and why you started and all that. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of get to know who Trevor Hall is, right? So the first thing I want to ask you is, we're here at Envision. First of all, what do you think about Envision? How's your experience been?
So far it's just been amazing, I think when you take the risk to come to like a foreign country and, go into the jungle, and you never really know how it's going to be, but so far it's been really beautiful, and the festival, just how they built it and kind of the consciousness behind it has been really, really cool to witness. So we're honored to be here.
Absolutely. I think that for me, just as an attendee and also as like a speaker here and watching you guys play music, it just makes it so much easier to enjoy when you kind of see the holistic aspect of like you got recycling bins and compost, and they're working with the local community and the indigenous community and just all the elements that go into it. Is that something that's important to you as like an artist playing in different places around the world?
Yeah, I mean, not just as an artist, but as a human being. I think that it's I think it's really important that if we're coming into a foreign country or land that has indigenous roots, it's very important for the festival or the program or whatever it is to, give back to that land and give back to that culture and give back to those people, Otherwise, it's just like robbery,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's amazing that they've been, like you said, including the indigenous community here, the people of this land, and it's super, super important, It kind of deepens the connection, and furthers the connection to the place and to the people. And otherwise it would just be another festival that's, in another place and no benefit. So, yeah, it's important.
Absolutely. So the other thing I want to get at, so in places like Envision, which is, I guess, it's got the label Transformational Festival, Conscious Festival, and there's an increasing kind of awareness around that, like festivals that don't necessarily want to work with corporate sponsors or don't want to just come in and trash a place and leave, and just take into all these things into consideration. And we see such a mix of like workshops and yoga and music and people expressing themselves and dancing and dressing however they want, and just trying to be free in this new, I guess, in an environment where they feel safe to do that. So I want to pose the question to you, in an environment like this, what does freedom mean to you, like in this context, the larger context of like spirituality and coming to events like that? How do you see that in your own life?
Well, beyond kind of festivals and beyond, being a musician, freedom of oneself, I think, is the highest aspect of one's existence, and I think as somebody who's trying to walk a particular path, a spiritual path or whatever, the greatest wealth one can do, or one can have, the greatest kind of thing one can do is in one's life is to know their highest self, right? To know their highest nature, their purest essence, right? Their oneness with all of creation. And that is freedom, right? Because once you identify with that supreme self, right? That innermost self, that space within one's heart that is eternal, right? That doesn't born, that it doesn't die, it can't be cut, can't be burnt, this type of thing. It is an eternal space. And when one identifies with that space and one comes into realization with that space within oneself, that is true freedom. And, it's like if you stack a bunch of zeros together, no matter how many zeros you stack together, it's always going to be zero, right? But if you put a 1 in front of all those zeros, then you have the essence, right? So what is that 1? right? That one is that innermost self, right? So first realize that, right? And then whatever you do, whether you're a musician, whether you're, a journalist, whether you're an artist, whatever you do in your life, as long as you have that one, right, within one's, you identify with that space, everything falls into place. And no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you have eternal freedom. Absolutely. Freedom from one's emotions, one's story, sure. Like this. So when you bring that into a festival, like something like this, here at Envision Festival, it's really amazing to see these festivals kind of aim towards that space, right? Including certain practices like yoga and movement and this type of thing, not only music, and then including other practices like, recycling and trying to not leave as big of a footprint on the land, right? It's super, super important. Anything that guides us towards that space within is beneficial. Absolutely. So it's nice to see that it's kind of making its way into a festival. Yeah. Situation.
Absolutely. So let's dig a little deeper with that then, because you were talking about self-awareness and the importance. I truly, definitely agree with you as far as that's true freedom. Having that awareness of your highest self and of your true nature, as it is. Right. And I know that you've taken a lot of influence from India and from Hinduism. And one of the things that I read, and I'd love to hear you elaborate on this, that I really resonate with is having a foundation. For you, the foundation seems to come from Hinduism as well as learning from, say, Buddhism and other practices. Right. I went to prison and discovered Zen Buddhism in prison. That's where I first started understanding meditation. And that has always kind of been like a foundational thing for me. And then learning, say, more shamanic practices, and as I've gotten older, kind of learning my native roots and getting more into Choctaw ways, learning from the Choctaw and Lakota, and having this awareness of like the foundation, and still being open to learning from a lot of different modalities. Right. One of the great mentors to me, his name's Chief Gray, he's of Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma, and he's kind of passed on to me the importance of having that foundation, right? Like going out there, being willing to come to a place like Envision, hear everybody's message and take in what works for you, but also still kind of having that foundation to root yourself so that you're not kind of maybe just floating in the wind, right? Let's talk about that. Like, what is the core of your foundation, Hinduism and wherever else that comes from?
Yeah, I mean, well, I grew up in like South Carolina, so I don't know how I ended up over in India, but I grew up in like a wealthy family in a very kind of touristy, wealthy place, never expected myself to go around the world to this place and be so affected by its culture and things like that. I'm grateful for where I grew up, because even though there wasn't so much access to like maybe spirituality, right? In Western culture, it's very much based off the material realm, and more money, more riches, more property, more this, happier you will be, right? That's kind of the lesson I think that we're kind of taught, But growing up in a place where there was a lot of money and a lot of property and people with big houses and this and that, I could look around and see that nobody's really happy, right? So I'm thankful for that, because then I knew, okay, this can't be it. There's something else, So I became really interested in all types of spirituality and meditation like this. I don't know, it's just natural in me. I had this hunger, And then, through a long story, I found myself in India, and again, I don't think I knew exactly why that hit me so hard, but that's where it hit me, and that's what I resonate with, and those paths, and you have to follow one's heart, and there's a saying in India when they say, a moment with the beloved and the river changes course, right? So that's where my river changed its course, but doesn't matter what makes your river change its course, as long as that river changes course and flows towards something good, you honor that, and it just so happens that India was that place for me, and that's the place that just kind of made me turn my life in a different direction, So I don't know why though, growing up in South Carolina, a small town, but I don't know what.
Well, I think, like you said, when something speaks to your heart and speaks to that deepest nature of yourself. There's really no that you can't really do anything about it. You're going to be pulled to it one way or the other. You can try to avoid it, but you'll find your way there. It'll find you.
Exactly.
So I think it's important to acknowledge that. Like if if your highest nature is calling to something, you know, then that's where you need to be. You need to learn from those things. So some of the other areas I've noticed you've taken influence from, so your latest, your series of EPs, Fruitful Darkness, right? Based on the book Fruitful Darkness, and kind of looking at this intersection of like shamanism and Buddhism and some of the overlapping traits. And I mean, that's just really interesting and appealing to me as well. These are some topics I've explored and kind of written a little bit about. And what does that say to you as far as, again, that you've got the call towards Hinduism and to India and things like that, but also recognizing that, well, for one, the term shamanism, I think I've kind of learned more over the years, is in some ways a limiting term. Like it's a really broad term, but it's also very limiting to kind of categorize a number of different traditions around the world as this like single label, when they really, a lot of them have very different, you know, modalities and teachings and things. But generally this, let's say, indigenous teaching, indigenous traditions, and things like Buddhism, how does that speak to you?
Well, I think, you know, it's funny because like I've obviously been very influenced by India and the practice of Hinduism, but I don't know if I would call myself a Hindu, you know. You know, there's an expression there that they say, you know, when a river has a name and form, right? Colorado River, Mississippi River, whatever. And it has its name, it has its form, it flows through, you know, the land and stuff. But when it meets the ocean, right, when it merges in the ocean, it loses its name and form, right? And it realizes, oh, I was just water all along, right? So that's how I kind of look at all these paths, right? I look at all these paths as rivers, you know. And it doesn't matter if I'm bathing in this river or I'm bathing in that river, because really it's just water. You know, and it's oneness, right? When we come to our fullest realization, all these names and forms, all these things will drop away, and we'll realize the truest essence, you know, which is oneness, which is unity. So yeah, for me, it's whatever sparks my heart. It's whatever inspires me, and I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to play a flute with one note, you know, through one hole. Right? I want to play through all the different holes, right? I want to make a song, you know. I want my being, my life, my body to be a song, right? But I don't want to just play reggae music or just play rock music, you know. So that's my kind of outlook, you know. And so it's whatever touches my heart, you know. The kind of, when you're kind of stuck in one way and you're kind of, I guess, I don't know what the word is, but like dogmatic in one way. I don't like that at all. Absolutely. You know, that's not my way, because, you know, it's all about unity. It's all about all people, you know, all colors, all different paths, you know.
I think the Creator speaks to each of us in different ways, right? And like you said, it's all water. It's all of that source. And I mean, depending on where you grow up in this planet, like you might find one message and that speaks to you, and but you know, everybody's going to find a different path. And I think it's about having that introspection, starting that journey, right? And a lot of your music does explore that kind of the spiritual exploration, as well as like recognizing, say, natural beauty, right? Like talking about volcanoes and Mother Earth herself. Let's talk about that. Why is that important for you? I mean, obviously you're drawing inspiration, but you know, is it more than something that makes you feel good that you want to share? Is there a reason why you like to highlight, say, the natural aspects of this earth, maybe to draw awareness to those issues, or is that part of your goals?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I have any goals. I mean, my only goal is to realize who I am, you know. But you know, when we look at all different traditions, right? When we look at indigenous wisdom or Buddhism or Hinduism, Christianity or whatever it is, every place has a sacred place, right? And this whole world is our mother, you know. And there's, as far as India goes, you know, there's special spots, right, that vibrate at a higher vibration, right? And by visiting these spots, that vibration, that Shakti, that power kind of transfers onto oneself. That's why people go on pilgrimage, right, to all these holy sites like this. It's like, you know, air is everywhere, right? But you feel it when you come in front of a fan, right? So it's like, you know, these places are like fans where you can really feel the essence of that highest being, you know? So, you know, and I think, I think when we recognize the earth as a living being, something that we can talk to, something that we can learn from, to treat the earth truly as one's mother, I think that our attention and our outlook upon the mother or the earth will be much different, and we'll treat her in a very different way, right? Because, like, you know, you have an earthly mother, you know, you don't want to see her sick, right? You don't want to see her die. You don't want to give her poisonous things, right? So when we have that outlook, right, we look at this river. Oh, this river is my mother. I don't want to throw anything in there, you know, like this. So it's a practical kind of path, I guess, right? And it can't be ignored, right? When you look at all the different traditions, no matter what it is, they all have their holy places on the earth, and they all call the earth their mother. Every single one. So it must be true. You know, you have to think, this must be true, right? And if we truly saw the earth as our mother, think about how much differently we would treat her. Think about how much differently we would have a relationship with her, you know?
Just the way we live our lives.
Just the way we live our lives in general, you know? Because you don't hurt somebody you love, you know? And that's kind of what it comes down to for me.
Absolutely. So I'll ask you a couple music questions now, because I want to definitely give people an opportunity. I do have some footage of you playing last night, so we're going to put some of that in here. So Fruitful Darkness, let's talk a little bit about that. One of the things I noticed is that you crowdfunded, you know, the release. Was there a specific mentality or purpose behind why you did that as opposed to like going a more traditional route?
Right. Well, my journey as a musician, I kind of have been lucky to kind of have all the different flavors. Like when I first started out, I was really young and I got signed to like a really big label, like a major label.
Geffen Records?
Geffen Records, yeah. And it didn't really kind of pan out, I guess, how things pan out when you sign to a major label. Like I recorded a couple albums and those got dropped and no music came out. And I knew it, okay, this isn't the fit for me, you know. Then after that, I was lucky to kind of sign with a smaller kind of independent label called Vanguard Records, and they kind of put out the majority of my catalog. And it was really amazing to work with them because I got a whole different feel. It was more family orientated. You know, I could pick up the phone and call anybody and talk. We were all friends, you know. And then once that was done, we had the decision to, maybe try to sign to another smaller label or do it on our own. And, you know, in today's times with technology and everything is moving so quickly, right? And things are changing. And as artists, we have to adapt to the times. You know, we have to learn, okay, what's the best way to do this? Now we have Spotify, now we're streaming, now we're Apple Music, all this stuff. So in one way, the internet and all these things, it makes it much easier for one to make their own album and put it out themselves. So it was a path that I wanted to try, right? Because I haven't tried it yet. And it was really amazing because I think when you're on a label, you know, there's some restrictions, you know. But also you're like making a record and it's kind of like behind the scenes, and then the fans don't really get to see it until you put it out, right? Whereas when we crowdfunded this, it was like we were building like with the whole our whole fan base, you know, like they saw it from the very beginning, so it kind of felt like more of a communal kind of group effort, which was really beautiful for us, you know. But it was definitely a learning experience. I mean, if I did it again, I would definitely do a lot of things differently, but it's just beautiful to try all the different ways, but also to try to adapt with what's going on, you know, in the scene.
Absolutely. I feel like that gives you like a way to really gauge your audience and your, you know, it's like the villagers, right? Is that what you refer to them as? Like that kind of you build that connection. So like you said, you can share some music. Hey, you are helping me create this work of art, you know, and that's really beautiful. So I know you're getting ready to go on tour to support some of the works. What's the works in that? What's happening?
It's a big tour. It's one of our. We haven't kind of gone on a long tour like this in a minute. It's called the Moon Sun Tour, and we fly back literally from here and start, and we're starting in Portland, Maine, and we're kind of going all the way down the East Coast into Florida, then all the way through the Midwest, and you know, all the way ending in California on the West Coast. So it's a month-long tour. But it's our first tour, like major tour with Fruitful Darkness like fully out. Yeah. So it'll be really great for us to really, our fans are maybe a little more familiar with the album, and we're able to tell the stories behind the songs and really kind of share more of that Fruitful Darkness journey. Yeah. Play songs that people don't really get to hear. Yeah. And we're really excited to have a great band called Dirt Wire with us, who is just an amazing band. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of collaborations and spontaneous kind of moments. And then we have our good friend Will Evans opening up the show as well. So it's kind of a stacked show, and we're just excited to bring it to the people.
Awesome, brother. Where can people find out more about the tour and your work in general?
All of our information is on my website, Trevor Hall Music, and we have, of course, Facebook and Instagram, Trevor Hall Music, like this. So, we try to keep up as much as we can on the social media, but all that information is there, and all of our tickets are there like this. So,
cool. Anything else you want to share with the audience? Any last thoughts?
No, just I'm honored to be, in this place, really. I mean, we've only been here for a couple days, and I've definitely learned a lot as a person and as an artist, and it's just we talked about in the beginning, it's really inspiring to see different programs like this, festivals like this, kind of aiming at something greater. And we're happy to be included and happy to meet you and talk with you. And we met a lot of wonderful people, and it's amazing how music and art just continues to expand the tribe. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
All right, guys, be sure to check out Trevor Hall. He's going on tour, and you can find him online. Don't want to miss this. We're going to show some more clips of his music. And until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are free. Peace.
For I know from where you came, spirit big, spirit strong. I could hear that spirit song. Yeah, I could hear that spirit song. Oh, yeah. Oh, hallelujah, my mind upon my mind. You say, open up and live, let that sweet love come in. Oh, hallelujah, my mind upon my mind. You say, open up and live, let that sweet love come in. Repeat after me now, come on now. Ocean by the mountain sky. Come on, y'all. I and I and I and I go forth into the heart. Aloha spirit through the dark. Yeah, Pura Vida through the dark. Oh, yeah. Clap your hands in the now, come on now. Oh, hallelujah, my mind up where my mind. Say, open up and live, let that sweet love come in. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in, yeah. Oh, hallelujah, my mind up where my road. I see you, yoga girl, I see you there. All right now. You say, open up and live.